Vivian, Underwood, Hermsen. My parents is Gus and Mary Underwood. To the left is my mom and my dad. My Indian name is Tsatsawat. Tsatsawat is my Indian name. I was given that name by my mom, who she received it from her mom, and it means a person of wisdom and strength. And I don't know if I deserved it at the time, but I got it after she was gone, so she couldn't tell me I can't have it. But it's carried on down the line, and my daughter, Tanya, she also carries the same name, and my granddaughter, her daughter, is carrying it as well. So we all received our names a few years back, along with my other cousins, and they all received our Indian names, but they're all different. We have some that are from my father, and some that are from just my aunts and uncles that have passed. Their names have been passed down to my nieces and nephews. This pamphlet that was handed out, on it is a postcard, a greeting card, is done from one of our community members, Doug LaFortune. It was just to show that the accomplishments that happens in our community, and he is one of a well-known with his postcards, his art. His brothers are with the carvings. You'll see carvings like the totem that's at the Thrifty Foods in Saanich. There's a totem in the hospital. There's signs on the side of the road in Central Saanich. That's all done by carving. That's all done by Doug LaFortune, the LaFortune family. And so it was just to show what is accomplished by our people in our own community. And so I just wanted to say that's what those cards are, and those are yours to keep as just a memento. But this was done, and it was done several years ago. But I was so nervous I didn't know if I could do this, so I just thought, okay, I'm going to copy this, and I'll just go along with whatever they said. This was done when I spoke to the school, to the children. So it's not exactly, I'm going to say, because it says on it, her daughter and Vivian's granddaughter, Kilanda Hayes, is in kindergarten this year at Saanich. Well, it's not this year, she's in grade 11. So it's kind of outdated. But anyway, I'll just go along with it and see where it gets me. Might get me not in a very good place, but anyway. But my daughter and Tanya has been, like I say, she carries my name, and her daughter carries my native name as well. I'm proud of my heritage. I really am. In some of those write-ups, you'll see. I'm not sure if you've got them all in this thing, because I don't remember if I put it in or not. But I did quote, I am a very dumb Indian, because I never ever learned my heritage when I was young. I had to live in a community where I was going to a public school, so I had to live two lives. I had to try and live the life of a non-native to get along, so I could get through my schooling, because it was really, really difficult. My parents only spoke native in the house if it was things they didn't want us to hear. If it was things that we needed to learn, which every dinner we would sit at the table and my father would lecture us one way or the other. You boys are drinking. If you've been drinking, this is, it's not right. You can't do it. My mom prayed before every meal, and she spoke to us in proper guidance. But it was lessons that we all needed. We really did. She, as a elder, also spoke to youth as well. So I'm kind of like trying to do as she did. I hope I can do it. I'm only a junior elder. I class myself as a junior elder because I still turn to my elders. There's a lot of things that I don't understand. Some of the cultures. We have the best culture in the world when it comes time to people passing away. You're never ready for it. So when it comes time, every band goes to band members and collects, whether it's 50 cents, $1, $2. By the time it's all said and done, my husband just passed away, so I can use this as an example. We don't have the burden of the financial caskets, food, because we feed everybody. We can have, my husband had 230 people at the hall for him. And you had to feed them, everybody. So you're feeding them not just a sandwich or coffee, you're feeding them a hot meal. They got a long ways to go. So all the money that's collected, all said and done, you got no expenses left. You don't have no burden of the finance that goes along with it. And it should be, I've always said it, I wished it was in the non-Native community, because nobody's ready for a death. Nobody's prepared for it. And if you do have it, you're taking away some of your savings, or you're taking, I mean, you really love the person you lost, but by God, you don't want the burden either. But it doesn't happen that way. So that part of my heritage, I'm really, really proud of. And there's a lot of other things that, but I'm not here to speak about my heritage. I'm here to talk about my schooling, my past, my community, and a part of how when I was growing up, we had to walk to school, to Saniston School, which was 2 miles away. We didn't have a bus. And you just walked. And we did. We walked. And then as we grew up, we had to leave home and go with our parents. They went down south. They went picking apples. They went picking cherries. They went to hops so that they could get money to put clothes on us, new clothes on us to go to school. We all got one new outfit to go to school a year, and that was part of it. And enough to pay for our food for the winter. We would go down, pick apples and orange apples, mostly apples, and cherries. And the two that made us really sick because we ate so much of it. But anyway, and strawberries. We really made the rounds, but we made enough money to survive through the hard times through the winter. My dad was injured. In those pamphlets you'll see, he was injured when we were really young. He was crushed by a log, and they had to take all his muscles out of his legs, the other way around. They took it all out of his arms, both arms, so he ended up like this. And they put it in his legs so he could walk. So he had trouble walking, but he walked. And so he made it very difficult for him to work. So he took on tractor work. He did custom work. He did work for the municipality. He had a grade 2 education, but he had a grade university up here. He made enough money to put food on our table. We were not a small family. There was 9 girls, 5 boys, my granny, my mom, my dad. So there was lots of people to feed, and lots of mouths, but not a lot of hands to go out and go to work because we were so young. But as we got older, we did go out with our parents. I did go out with my mom. I remember going out and working in the bulb field for Wilsona Farm, which is turned to be Van Trice Farm. We would go up there and we'd work, and us kids didn't get paid because we were too young. But made it easier for my mom, because she didn't have to worry where we were because we were right there. But so we learned to work. We were young, we learned to work. And from that, I will say I give them a lot of credit. We weren't on the streets. They knew exactly where we were doing and what we were doing. And if we were doing wrong, believe me, they corrected us. And in one of those write-ups, the reason why I handed out the write-ups is because I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, to be able to talk about it, for one. But it also, there's a lot in there that I won't even be able to get to if I tried, because my parents, I'd give them the world if I could just have one more day with them. They're both gone. They were the best influence for my kids. They did well. My children did well in sports. You'll see my son's up there. My other son played slow pitch. My daughter also played ball. They all traveled the world. They've seen the world. But, you know, that education that was given to me by my parents is instilled in my children. And that, to me, was the greatest gift from my parents. My dad was born in Saanich. He worked for the Central Saanich Municipality. He worked on the Department of Highways. He did a lot of culture work, you know, going out and doing rototilling. He would go and rototill at the airport for a gentleman that was an East Indian man. He was the nicest guy in the world. He used to give us ice cream. And but he was really, really nice. And on his way home, this was my dad, and this was just the way he was. On his way home, he'd have to come home on East Saanich Road, because then that was the only road he could travel on with his tractor and his rototiller. If he saw somebody that was out in their yard turning the ground over, he would pull his tractor in there, whip through it, do four good turns of dirt, and drive away. He never stopped to wait to find out who they were, what they were going to do there, but if that was good enough for them to plant their garden. He was a man that never questioned. He was the first one there to help. And my mom was born in Duncan, and her maiden name was Elliot, and she went to residential school because they took her out of the public school. They said that because she was Native, that there's going to be no Natives in the school. You have to find a school. Well, they couldn't find a school for her. So she was out of school for 1.5 years till they found a school. Then they found a school that would take Native children, and she went to it. They only took her there for 1 year. I think it's 1 year. It's in the write-up. And they took her out of there too, because they decided it was going to be all public. But she's not public. She's a Native. So they moved her to she went to the residential school in Port Alberni. By the time she got there, she was 16 years old. So she lost a lot of years. But she did manage to get to grade 8, and then married my dad. But my dad also went to the residential school for the male residential, but he didn't last very long. He only lasted a couple of years. So he got grade 2. So now here's 2 people with a grade 2 education and one with a grade 8 education that raised these 15 children and got them to where they are today. They are, like the write-up says, they were monarchs. And that was the best description you can describe for a parent raising all these children, because they were a good influence for us, but they also were a good influence for the community. My mother had a campground, and she used to get the guys off the ferry, to get all the cars off the ferry late night, and they'd come off the ferry, the last ferry, which is 9 o'clock, arrives here at 11, and I lived next door in a double wide. And I heard all these blah, blah, and I couldn't figure out what the hell it was, so I got up and I ran out my door. It was a motorcycle group, the Hells Angels, were coming for a place to park. It was raining really, really hard. And I said to John, "Wake up, hon, wake up." And he said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "You got to get up." And he says, "Why?" I said, "There's a bunch of guys over at Mom's. They're all on motorcycles." So he got up and he looked. By the time he got out of bed and came to the window to look, they were all in my mom's house, all 19 of them. And she put them up in her basement of her house because it was raining so hard. She was a widow by herself. She was 73 years old, and she took all these guys in and put them in the basement because it was raining. So I got over there, and needless to say, Vivian was not a happy camper. I get over there and I said, Mom, what are you doing? She said, they can't sleep outside. It's too cold. It's wet. And I said, Mom, I said, they're a motorcycle group. She says, no, they're people. And you know, that is so true. You can't judge anybody by what they have, what they look like. You could be, like I just said yesterday to a gentleman that came to our house, you don't judge your parent, you don't judge the parents if the children have gone wrong. You don't judge the children if the parents have gone wrong. It's something that happens. And Lord willing, my children have gone in the right direction, and I want to be judged in the right way. So when my children went to school, they all went through Sanderson School. They went through Mount Newton School. Of course, the oldest one didn't make it very far, but the middle one, Gary, he went right through Sanderson. He went through Mount Newton. And then he went through Stellies. And then Tanya did exactly the same. But they both, the other two graduated. So, you know, it's a tough road for these kids. They had to live in a society where my children were, well, you can see, they're fair. They're not, because my husband was Dutch. And my husband, I don't know how many of you remember the janitor at Royal Oak School. Well, my husband's father was a janitor at Royal Oak School. Then he went from Royal Oak School and went to Mount Newton and was a janitor at Mount Newton. And I ended up marrying his son. But anyway, my husband being Dutch and me being native, we got sort of filtered down, you can say, and we're not really, really dark, but we're not really, really fair. So we had to try and live in a situation where you got to live in the community that you're in, and you got to blend in. You got to make it work, but you can't turn your back on your people. And my children did that. I did that. But like I say, it was difficult. It was very, very difficult. It was a tough road. It was harder for my parents, but it was a tough road for us children too because of our coloring. Because the Native children didn't want to play with us because we weren't Native enough. The non-Native children, the white children, didn't want to play with us because we weren't white enough. But there wasn't enough neutral colors that was there to play with. So I blended in. I didn't have that problem as some of the other Native children because that's the way we were raised. And so my children, they made it through, like I say, 2 graduated, 1 didn't, but they all made a good life regardless. But my dad, his mother, there's in one of the write-ups, it's in that long book over there, Catherine Underwood, she lived in our community naturally, and that's where my father was born. She was killed on the Petway Highway, and for years we never heard of it. They never talked about it because she was not killed intentionally. It was an accident, but because it was a non-Native and this happened, it happened. But they never talked about it, and then all of a sudden it shows up in the paper that she had, that she done. But we were so young we didn't know, and some of us weren't even born, so they never spoke of it. But being myself, like I say, I was too involved in sports to think about what was behind me, and what was behind me was my culture, because I wanted to make something for myself. And I felt if I want to make something for myself, I have to either take 1 step forward or take 2 steps back. So I took that step forward and I did sports. And sports was my life. And I took anything and everything my parents could afford to put me in, because that's the way it was, because they had other children other than me. And so you can see I was in sports. But going through school, in Sanderson Elementary, well, I forgot to say, I was born in Sydney Resthaven Hospital, which is, of course, not there anymore. And it was, like I say, it was a tough road. I could cry now thinking about it, but I'm not going to, but I'm going to be almost ready. To get through Sanderson Elementary School was my hardest. For some reason, the children were mean, very mean. They didn't want to play with me. Like I say, because I was not their color. So it was tough. It was really tough. But we did get through it. And I got through Sanderson. I participated in anything that was there. I did their sports. I did well in their sports. I went to Mount Newton. I fit in at Mount Newton only because when I got there, I knew a lot of people. And my brother Hermsen said, "Vivian, don't you worry. I'll protect you. Nobody's going to pick on you. You'll be all right." And so I got into Mount Newton. I wasn't afraid. I participated in their track. That was my favorite. Participated in basketball. I did everything that I had to do. And I got rewarded for it. They were awarding out a citizenship award for the outstanding student in Mount Newton School. And I received, it was given to me, and I received a gold watch from Mount Newton School. And my brother Gus had received it 10 years prior, and I received it from Bruce Gardner, or from Dorn. I think it was Ed Dorn. Yeah, and so I got the gold watch from Mount Newton, and then went on to Claremont. And again, I really enjoyed my sports. Still carrying on my sports. I did the track and field. I excelled in the track and field, and I received a call saying that I was going to receive a medal for Canada for the outstanding Native athlete. And my Uncle Ed phoned my mom and told my mom that I had to go to Vancouver. Well, we couldn't afford to go to Vancouver. And somewhere along the line, Mom, being as religious as she was, prayed that somehow I was going to get to Vancouver to receive this medal. And a gentleman from Sanderson, he's passed away now, Mitchell, came down and said, "Gus, you had picked up you dropped off some lumber, and I wanted to give you this money for it." And he gave my mom $30. Well, then that was lots of money, and that we were able to get on the ferry and go to get this award. So my sister Sadie went over with me. She could drive, so she took me over because my parents couldn't go. So I go over and I received the Tom Longboat Award, which is, like I say, is supposed to be issued to the top male and the top female for Canada. But they decided, because of all my records and my achievements, that they were going to just give it to me. So I received it for that year. And we went over and got it, and I received it from Harry Jerome, who was the outstanding track athlete. He was and he was cute. He was nice looking. And then we went to, we'd gone to with Reggie. Reggie was inducted into the Hall of Fame, my younger brother. So we went. By this time now, I'm older. We got ourselves in a position where we could go and do things, but we put our children into sports. Getting away from Reggie for a minute. Our children into sports. And they had the same problem, but got through it. It was not as hard. My son John, he kind of fought his way through Mount Newton and then quit. But he fought his way not because he was Native, because he had the long hair. He had this, how do you want to say it, when you tell your children to go wash their face, they decide they don't want to do it, or you tell your children they got to get their hair cut, they don't want their hair cut. Well, this was John. His dad would take them for an ice cream while they knew they were going to get their hair cut. Or let's go for a drive, we'll go for a hot dog. Oh, they're going to get their hair cut. And Johnny got it figured out. And he didn't want an ice cream and he didn't want a hot dog. And as the time was going that he was refusing these, his hair was getting longer. Well, of course, the guys picked on this kid with the long hair, this little girl. Well, Johnny was also strong, so he showed them he wasn't a girl. But anyway, he didn't make it all the way through Mount Newton. But he, like I say, it was a little bit tough, but like I said, it wasn't because of the fact he was Native. But they excelled. I'm proud of them. They've gone a long ways. I think the toughest part for them is when it came time for traveling. I had foster children that I brought in from up north, and it was difficult. We didn't have the money to put a lot of the travel time in. I took in 4 foster children. I birthed 3 of my own. So we have 7 children now in a mobile home. We built bedrooms on and built bedrooms on and additions on. And by the time we were done, we had this huge double wide with all these little add-ons. But the youngest, we took them in and we loved them more than life. And we were supposed to only get them till they were of age. Well, they figured their age was 24. That was the last one that left. And but we still get them back. They still come home. They blessed us with grandchildren. So, it was times were tough for us, taking it on, because we also turned down the human resources money. They wanted to pay for us to take these kids. Well, nobody should be paid. You take the kids for love, you don't take them for money. And we took them for love. So to put them through sports, it was getting tougher as we went down the line. So Gary excelled in his sport through ball. Johnny did also ball. He did slow pitch. Gary, Tanya, she did slow pitch. So they saw the world. But, you think that you've gotten over the hurdle. We got to PEI for the Canadians. And Gary was playing for the Ravens, Vancouver Ravens. And he slid into second base, and he broke his toe. So we took him to the hospital. The hospital wouldn't take him because he was Native. They wouldn't accept our BC medical card because they don't take the out-of-province medical card. This was at that time. So the owner of the Shaw Cable in Vancouver was our sponsor. And he came and he says, I'll buy the effing hospital. You treat that kid. Just because he's Native doesn't mean his toe is going to get better. Fix his toe. They fixed his toe. Right there, and he paid for it outright because they wouldn't accept our card, so he had to pay the cash to have it done. So he did, and they continued on, and they won the Canadians. But that's how life is if you're different. And nobody is really different. And I tell this to the kids all the time, nobody's really different. Just because your color is a little bit off doesn't mean you're different. Your insides are the same. So I tell this to the kids when I'm speaking to them. And I find that for them, when they see the accomplishments of others, it gives them a little bit of hope. May not be lots, but a little bit of hope. That there's artistry, there's sports, there's just like the Tom Longboat Medal. There's the watch. All the achievements that Reggie did. Reggie did, I could talk about him for hours, but we won't go there. But I put it in that pamphlet, all his achievements. He went far. He went very far. But that's what I will say that my dad instilled. Because he spoke to the boys all the time. And Reggie, I think, was the only one that listened, I think. But anyway, he went a long ways. And I think he just retired from ball not that long ago because he was still playing with the seniors. But Dad was from the old school, and lecturing to us kids was his way of showing his love for us. Because even when he disciplined us, he still disciplined us in a way that he was teaching us something. I don't recall ever in my life that he ever raised his hand to us. No belts, no sticks, he chased my brother around a car because he locked the keys in there, but he never raised a hand to him. But, it's, like I say, Dad's influence as an elder was not just for us kids. He spoke to other children in the community. And my mom was the same. We had lots and lots and lots and lots, I would say lots and lots and lots of meetings in our house because she held a church meeting there, but she also talked. She loved to talk to the people and help the people. But she got that from her parents, from Duncan, did the same thing. And my dad did the same thing from his mom, because his dad died quite a bit, before, when he was still growing up. So he was basically raised just by his mom, my dad was. So she was a really good influence on the community as well. And she, like say, in there you'll see that in one of the write-ups that she would go from house to house, clean houses and iron the clothes and that kind of stuff, because she didn't have anything else. She was another one with no education. She didn't even have didn't even attend to start to school. She just couldn't. She had to raise her children. So she raised, I think it was 5 boys and 1 girl, and my dad was one, and they built boats and did odd jobs, and that was his way of making their living, helping their living. My dad's brother also was a fisherman. They built boats, and I think in one of them, I'm not sure if it's in this write-up or if it's in that write-up over there, Ed Underwood was our chief. That was my dad's brother. He traveled the world. He was a big chief. He knew his knowledge on our people. But he too didn't have that good of an education. But you don't have to. I can, even though that I shouldn't say it, because I never say it to the kids, but you don't need an education to make something of your life. And as long as you do your best at what you're doing and do it well, you don't need a grade 12 to do it. And I say that after to the kids, because I want my kids to go the right way. My children, my son is 50. Ooh. Oh, that sounds terrible. I think I was doing my first speech at 50. Anyway, he's 50, and I want him to make sure that his daughter is traveling on the right path. I've got a video over there of anybody go to Sanderson School? No, maybe I won't play it. It's just of Sanderson School because I went to Sanderson School, and it's the beginning of Sanderson School when Bruce Gardner was there, and all the way right through to the end of Sanderson School. And there was just, because I didn't know how to go about to do this. I really honestly didn't. But as far as the write-ups, I've got a brief, I can go over there, right?
Sure you can.
Um,
You can do anything you want.
I do anything I want, but I've got to do this first. Let me straight. Okay. I just want a quick explanation. So if you just, when you go through and you want to look, take a look and see, I'm just going to give you a brief explanation to what's watching through. I did write on it. When I received the Citizenship Award, that's this one. This lady here is my three greats. She's Chief Seattle, related through my mom, through the Duwamish tribe. My mom was a Duwamish member through her great grandfather. So his great grandfather. I may be quoting that wrong, but anyway, she's related to Chief Seattle was related to us through my mom. So that's a picture of Chief Seattle. This was a picture of my mother. Bless her soul, she was absolutely the most wonderful woman you could ever meet. That's my mom. This is a picture of my father-in-law. That's Aloysius Hermsen. They called him Louis Hermsen. He was a janitor at Royal Oak School. Then he went to Mount Newton School. He was a janitor at Mount Newton School. And that's how I met my husband. He threw chalk at me while I was sitting outside. And when his son came to pick him up, I met his son. Then I married his son. Anyway, that's it. Then this was just to show some of the culture that's in our community. That's done, that one, and that's on your postcards, and that's done by Doug LaFortune. And then this is the medal from the Tom Law Code. Is this one here? And this is my dad. And Arthur Bates was a columnist. You say that, columnist? A writer for the Times columnist. But it wasn't Times columnist then, I think it was the Times. And he came out and he interviewed our family. It was a real experience because he came, and we thought it was like the King of England coming. Because he was so gentle, so nice, so calm, and he just made himself at home. Sat down and made himself at home. But anyway, I tried to copy it. This is just a copy because I can't do the original because the original is so old. And the paper is getting, you know what happens when you get old? Yeah. That's what the paper is. That's what the paper is. Yeah, it got all wrinkled. Anyway, then that's just the way that was done for when it was easy to speak of my people. So when I did the speech to the in town, I had to do it to all men. Toastmasters of Victoria. This was from their speech. So it was easy to do it about my people. But you can tell by what I'm doing here, it's hard to talk about me. My father used to say, and I've repeated it so many times, you don't stand around and wait for somebody to attack you on the back because tomorrow you could be a bomb. And it's so true. You go out and get a home run today and you're a hero. Tomorrow you'll go out and strike out every time you go up to play. So, and that was the one thing that was easy to do because it was about something else. So that's a fact. This one is a picture of when the kids were walking to Sanderson School. Herman, my older brother Herman, Tony, and my cousin Gary. My brother Reg, we've got in that book his accomplishments all, and he had lots. But he too graduated from Claremont. So he was just a was a hero in my mind, but I'm a little bit partial. And this was my son Gary. He too was into sports. He played with him because he was his idol. And he played ball, he played hockey, and he done well for himself. He did get, we were proud of him for that. Then he is here playing hockey, and his write-ups on him. I only took a few out of his scrapbook, because I did a scrapbook for them too, and for him too. And my husband, oh, that part, my husband was into race cars. To me, it was the worst thing he ever did, but anyway, it was the costliest. It was fun. It was like burning money. It's like throwing it in the fire, because he put a motor in the car, took it out for a test run, and blew it in turn 2. You know, and they'd come home and say, "Hon, piss off. Get out of here." You know, we just finished spending that money that we shouldn't have spent. Putting that thing on the track to race for $3 and get a check. You know, because we pulled out that check. We got one for 8 cents. Herm still got it. Yeah, Herm still got that check. But anyway, my husband's here, my brother Herman, Larry, and George. They were our mechanics. Those two, and Herman was our driver. We were the owners of the car. I wish we weren't. Anyway, there was just be in these books here. We won't have time, this is what I say. We don't have time, and it's to do because it's just of my people. It's not of the school, but of Mount Newton. But it's got the history of our community. So that I didn't want to go into that because it's not what I was here for. I was here for the school. But like I say, I don't have all the records for the school, Mountain School, Sasha School, because it was something I was got to get through. As difficult as it was sometimes, I was glad to get through it. So my recollection of a lot of it is not all there, maybe this much. But I'm proud of where I got. Put it that way. Proud of where I got. Sanderson School was, to me, like I say, was the hardest of all. But Mount Newton, Claremont was awesome. I got through that with a breeze. Even with my grades were great. My track was good. Heather Woods, I could have choked. She would have beat me all the time on the big high. But she beat me all the time, but she gave me a good run for my money. And then there's Reggie, like I say, because he went to Claremont as well. That's one of the reasons why I really involved him, because he graduated Claremont. He did very well. He done very well for himself. He too, I don't know if he will be able to. He'd probably be the same as I am, because of the fact that we weren't. How do you put it now? We weren't people that kept notes or remembered things from the school or the class, because they were so busy trying to get us ahead. Keep going. You work hard. That was one thing, that was my parents. You work hard. You're going to get somewhere if you work hard. Never look back at the wrongdoings that's happened. Keep going. And so some of the things, like I say, I don't even remember. Because I remember my track. I remember, going to a track tournament. Claremont School, when I caught the bus that I got off, I remember even just being so excited because I was getting there, because I got that far. But I'm not. It's hard for me to remember back, really is. And it's even harder because, I'll be honest, I had some other problems when I was younger, but then I got shingles and it affected my memory. I got it so bad. And I still am suffering with it to this day, with funny ring in my hands, because it affected my nerves and my fingers and my hand. So it's still, and in the back of my head, it was just horrendous, horrible. But, so some of the memory is, but it's okay, I remember the past.
Yeah.
I remember what I needed to remember, so maybe that's bad, maybe that's good. Anyway, and then this red book, I did this years and years and years ago, but it says right on it, it was a keepsake for my children. I put it away in the book chest, and I didn't want my children to see it. I didn't want my children to see it because I didn't want my children to think that, oh, Mom was an athlete, she'd want us to do this, or she'd want us to do that. We should do this, or we should do that, because Mom did. But you know what? I wanted them to walk in their own shoes, not mine. So I put it away, and I thought this way, they will go out and do the best they can for themselves, and whatever they want to go in, whether it's volleyball, or track, or swimming, or something that they want to do, not what I wanted to do, or I wanted them to do. I mean, I would have loved for them to get into, all of them to get into the sports I was involved in, because I enjoyed it. But I didn't. So I had this hiding. So I'm sitting up, I love bingo. Not a bad habit, but anyway, I'm sitting at the bingo hall, and this lady comes over and she says to me, I saw you on Facebook. I said, what? She said, I saw you on Facebook. So what are you talking about? She says, can you do me a favor? And I said, what's that? She says, can you sign this? She brought me over a copy of it. And it was, you see, I don't even know if it was on this one. Oh, I think it was this. I don't know if it was this. Anyway, yeah, I think it was this one. It showed up on Facebook. My daughter had never even seen it. And I didn't want her to see it. I didn't want it. Well, she's finished now, but I didn't want my granddaughter to see it. I didn't want my granddaughter to feel, oh, I have to be in sports. Because she loves judo. She loves karate. I don't want her to get out of that. I want her to do her own thing, not mine. So anyway, so then this shows up. So then my son comes over, Mom, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you show us? I said, because I want you to live your own life, not mine. But like I say, all this and those medals, they're never going to see. Oh, no. They're never going to see it when I'm gone. No, I'm allowed. Because I want them to be themselves. I don't want them to be an image of me. Bad enough, I'm going to go and have another one of me. But I thought this way, the children will do their thing. My grandchildren will do their thing. Not the thing that I want them to do. But so anyway, so this book has just pictures of my activities, some of, oh, even that one, that was my track meet, that was my activity, my track. Some of the, I don't know if that's that picture. No, it's not that picture. Anyway, some of the things that I had, one, there was a letter I got from the government, the ministry, oh, there was something. And so this book is just, was in hiding. There's a picture that you probably can't even see because that's how old it is. It's just an old book. But anyway, I'll leave it there. And that takes care of that. And like I say, I won't put the video on because the DVD is from National School. Because I knew I couldn't talk about it. I knew I couldn't talk about National School. Because like I say, National School is hard for me. And so I thought, well, I can bring the video. And yes.
Are you willing to take some questions from your?
I sure am. Yep. This is also part of our culture here. This is by Dwayne Goldsmith. He's from the Pumpkin Band, which is also who we are associated with through our family, through my dad. Yes.
I just had to say one thing. You were talking about your newspaper articles.
Mm-hmm.
The Times columnist has an archive section,
Mhm.
and so does UVic. and you can usually go back and get any of those photos and the year and the date and have them printed.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm gonna do that because there was so much information that, like I say, I've lost.
Yeah.
You know, I just lost. So I will do that to the to the college. Oh, UVic archives?
Just want to ask one question before
Yes.
you start. Does your family know you're doing this?
My children do.
Oh, good, they'll be able to watch this forever.
Well, I don't normally, like I say, I don't normally do it to anybody older than 17. So, because I speak to the youths. So it's going to be, it's easier to talk to them because you can tell them almost anything. But I don't know if I'll get away with it at anyone over 17.
Children might like to see that red book when they can ask you questions. And you can tell them the stories.
I can show it to the older ones, but the grandchildren I would rather not.
Oh.
Yeah, because like I say, as it is now, one of the grandchildren, one of my granddaughters came over just the other day, and they know that I love to shop, grocery shop. I love grocery shopping. And the first thing that she said to me was, Grandma, and I said, yes. She says, can we go grocery shopping today? Because she says, I love grocery shopping. I want to be just like you. And I thought, oh my God. And is that good or is that bad? And Johnny says, that's bad, Mom. And, you know, but then I worry because I want to be a good influence for my children, my grandchildren, but I don't want them to feel that they have to be like Grandma, because they have their own lives. But I will, like I say, the older ones I will show them, because now it's out in the open. Yes, yes, that's true, and I can answer them while I'm here, not yell at them from. I hope this way. I hope this way, not that way. Yeah, no, yes, I will be showing them, but I'll probably, like, it will be still another week or so away, because I do have one more speech I got to do to the youth, and after I'm finished with it, then I'm going up to Parksville, because I don't want to be here on the 6th. My husband passed away on the 6th, so I don't want to be here. So I probably will head up to the, it's supposed to be our summer place, but it'll be our winter place now because I'm going up. It probably got snow buried in it because it's up in Parksville, so it's probably covered in snow. So, but I'm still going to go up, and just so I'm not here. So when I come back from there, I'll show 'em. Yeah, for sure.
Were you able to find any role models or people you looked up to when you were young, other than your family?
Harry Jerome. Yeah, Harry Jerome was my idol, and I just wished that he was closer here, that we could even just get advice from, because he was and he also was a good influence on a lot of young kids. He spoke to a lot of young athletes as well. He was just a good man. But no, he was my idol. Yeah, he was, and he was cute.
Did any of the teachers stand out?
Yes, I went to Claremont, and Joseph Lott, he backed me in an issue that was almost a newspaper police issue. I'm not going to use names. This insurance company came up to the school, and they wanted somebody to come in and do like how they used to send out students to the different businesses as an educational experience, and what did they call it? Work experience? Yeah, work experience. So at the time, I was taking secretarial, and he sent me, because I was just under an A by, I think it was 3 points or something. I missed an A. But anyway, he sent me. And I got there, and God be my witness, and Lord help me. I got there, and he said, I don't need you today. We're okay. And not to come back. And Mr. Lott went down there with me, and I was let go because I was Native. They didn't take me. And he said, don't ever come back to our school and ask for any students. So he was on my side. And that, I remember, I wish I had, he's not here, but I wish I had, at that time, I wish I had the strength to go up and give him a big hug and a kiss. Because I needed it, and he, but no, that was one of the experiences, but I've got lots of good ones, but that was one that stands out to the top because it hurt so bad. Yeah. But when I received that gold watch, I think that was the highlight of my education, my schooling. It was a citizenship award that kind of covered all angles, covered all positions in the school as a student, in relations to the teachers, the students, and I received it. And I think that was my highlight, because even though I thought at the time, I was shocked because I didn't think I deserved it, for one. And I think I even told them, and at that time, I was, like I say, I was in grade 10. And, but I think that would be my highlight. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you.